Brought to you by Metro PCS.
Through the playoffs here on UTV 44. Jim Cox and Dan Brennan getting ready for a matchup here tonight in Daphne. And we're at Metro PCS for our Metro PCS pregame show. We're at the Daphne location here on Highway 98, not very far from Daphne High School, just right over there. Come by and see our friends here at Metro PCS. Second week of the playoffs, Dan, and we'll talk about the matchup between Opelika and Daphne, two teams that obviously we're very familiar with Daphne, and we've seen Opelika over the years in the playoffs. But, you know, last week we see Carver Montgomery come in, and they are, I would say, stunning Spanish Fort with 10 minutes left to go in that football game.
Yeah, what they did, which was so stunning, was they just kept winning the line of scrimmage. And they were so dominant at the line of scrimmage, they really didn't let Spanish Fort get into anything they wanted to do offensively. And they also had some success offensively themselves, and it really all started at the line of scrimmage. So after one period, then into halftime, and then after 3 quarters, it was pretty obvious that team had gotten off the bus. They certainly had a lot of good players, and they came ready to play. But when we did our check on that team in advance of the game, nothing indicated we would see them play like that. But that's what the playoffs are all about. And you don't get a chance to see these teams, nor do the opponents. You get a chance to scout them, get an idea about them, but you really don't know the heartbeat of a team until you're on the field, they're over there, you're here, now let's line up. Spanish Fort, hey, kudos to Vic Lockett.
No doubt. And Vic, I was just going to say, knowing the heartbeat of a team, that was Vic Lockett. You know, at halftime, you know, you and I were kind of looking like, wow, is Spanish Fort going to get this thing going in gear? And Vic Lockett, the whole time, halftime, third quarter, he said they're champions. They're going to find a way. They'll get back in this football game. Then sure enough, it takes an injury. Samsel goes down, and then Wyatt Wilkinson, who we last saw in week 1 break his leg against McGill, hadn't played, comes in, gave them the spark they needed, and looked a little Tyler Johnson-esque the way he ran the offense for him.
He really did, because a lot of his plays were kind of guts and glory, you know, and he ran the read option, kept the ball himself a number of times. I think they might have a quarterback power play or two just to allow him to run. Tough kid, inspired the whole team. I think just the play calling also was better for them, to allow them not to have to try and drop back and throw too much on that team, because they were really getting after the quarterback, speaking of Carver. So congratulations, Spanish Fort. It wasn't easy, but for Spanish Fort, it was another win on the hill.
Yeah, and Matt Quinn, sophomore kicker, you know, and it was a short field goal, but still, it's a tremendous amount of pressure on that young man. I mean, it's win or, you know, make it, win, or go home, and it just wasn't even, it's just, you know, ice water in the veins. He's been doing it since an 8th grader.
He knocked it over the building just about, and that is amazing that he's been able to do that, make just not kicks, but big kicks, since he was 14 years old. So for him, it is a little bit old hat, but as a sophomore, he remains a big weapon on that team. And obviously, he could not have been any bigger than the other night when he won the game.
And in 3 years, he's never missed on TV. He's never missed a game we've done.
Is that right?
He's never missed. No, he never has. Hey, we've got a matchup here tonight. Opelika coming into town, a team we've seen over the years. Brian Blackman, the head coach, just one of the out-of-town coaches that we just love a chance to see. Of course, his brother Ben is the head coach at Spanish Fort, and we'll talk more about this with Kenny King and the Trojans in a minute. But boy, when Opelika rolls into town, you know the history, and you know usually what you're going to see when they come out on the field.
A good football team, well-coached football team, and of course the talent on a team comes in cycles. So you're in a particular town or township, and you're going to have greater talent some years than others. But with Opelika, you know what you're going to get in terms of the preparation and the coaching, and it's always going to be excellent.
All right, we're here at Metro PCS. We're at the Daphne location on Highway 98. And of course, you know, they've got the new iPhones here. They've got all the great accessories you could ever want. And Tara was just looking at the selfie kit over there that you have to be at, was it level 5? Level 5? Have to be a level 5.
Level 50.
50. 50. Okay, well, either way, Brennan and I will not have the selfie kit out tonight. I can promise you that. When we come back, Kenny King, the head coach of the Trojans, they are red hot. We can't wait to see him tonight on the field. He joins us after this. toys there for all the gadget lovers here at Metro PCS. We're on Highway 98 in Daphne. They've been a proud supporter and sponsor of our pregame show all year long with us here in the playoffs. They've got the new iPhone here that everybody's want to make sure they have as the holidays get closer. Speaking of everybody being excited about new things, Kenny King, head coach of the Daphne Trojans in his first year. Of course, the town so excited when he came here, and now even more excited if that could be with a 9-game winning streak in the second round of the playoffs. Chance Newman, the quarterback of the Trojans, and maybe a little part-time defensive end. We'll talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit. Kenny, no, we're not doing that. So, Coach King, we saw you. It's been week 2. Saw you as the game against Spanish Fort here on UTV 44. Since then, I mean, team has gone on a 9-game winning streak. Talk about just how the team has grown over the past couple of months since we've seen you on TV.
The team really gelled after the Sarah Land game. You start seeing the confidence levels rise, and taking down Blunt, you saw it go even higher. So just really to buy into the things that we're talking about the little things and how to be successful and how to be champions, talking about a championship mindset. And they bought in and has been doing a great job.
The Sarah Lane game you mentioned, that was a close, down-to-the-wire game, one that you kind of felt you needed to have. You were able to make a stand at the end. But, I mean, did you just kind of, were you feeling that, man, if we could just get one, I can see the potential where this team can go?
Yes, you know, looking at them in practice and seeing the growth, and that game was the defining moment of our year, and they did a great job. Like I say, when we held them to win, I mean, it was a lot of excitement. You know, had a Gatorade bath, and you know, it was my first win. So it made everything great since then.
Talk about when you mentioned practice and when you're off to an 0-2 start, realizing you played 2 really good programs, but still, what are you trying to achieve week in, week out at practice? I think a lot of fans don't understand just how important practice is and how a team can grow Monday through Thursday, show it on Friday, but the growth is actually during the week.
Yes, just being consistent. At first, we really weren't consistent. We'll have a great practice and then come back the next day and not so well. So trying to convince them that, fellas, you keep working hard, keep doing what you're doing, keep doing what we ask you to do, you'll start seeing success. And, you know, we've been pleased with what they have done thus far.
Got to have great leaders to, you know, because it's, you know, high school kids, young kids, things are not going quite the way you want them. I mean, the season, you said it was kind of a must-win game against Saraland. You're 0-2, almost 3 weeks into the season. You could be teetering as to which way it's going to go. Since then, it's been 9 in a row. Chance, talk about, look back at just where the team was then compared to where you are right now.
It's crazy change from what we started at and where we are now. After we got punched in the mouth those first 2 games, we were just tired of it. So we started practicing hard almost every single day. And after that, we've just started winning. And then defense has done an awesome job. They've been holding teams. I don't think they've let over 20 since Spanish Fort game. And then the teams just really came together.
Chance, of course, we met at a QB Country session with a number of young quarterbacks who were all pretty good players.
David Morris sometimes brings Dan in for some expert pointers on how to spin it deep down the field.
That'd be a huge mistake. But anyway, we got a chance to meet at that time, and I was excited to meet you, and it was a pleasure. So I like to keep an eye on these young guys that I meet. And as I kept seeing Daphne win again after we saw your loss, I was thinking to myself, I wonder how this is affecting you and how you're growing as not just a quarterback, but as a leader of that team, which the quarterback ultimately is. Talk about that.
Well, you know, just the feeling of winning and then getting everybody on the same page, and it's an awesome feeling actually, and just growing throughout these past few years, and this year the most. And then he talks about everyday championship mindset, and we've really became and bought into that, and it's really coming together.
You know, it doesn't matter if it's eating, working out, whatever. I mean, good habits are as easy to get into as bad habits. I mean, habits are habits, and you talked about seeing the way the team has practiced week in and week out, and seeing him grow. Just how about you? I mean, how are you feeling now after you talked about got your first win? Of course, you've been at every level of football. First time as a head coach. Just how are you feeling now 2 weeks into the playoffs here in Daphne?
I'm feeling good, but at the same time, you know, you're never as good as your last game. So, of course, you know, we have this this playoff game, and we need to get to round 2. I mean, to round 3. So, you know, we're excited, and we got to take care of business. Ask me that question after this game, and I'll let you know.
All right, well, we're going to have you for the whole show, so we'll ask you more. Chance, good to see you. He was saying he wants to play some defensive end. He wants to get out there, get some.
Yeah, he wants to get some tips from the All-Star, right?
We can all use that. Hey, still trying to figure out which is the best deal of the football season? Metro PCS, where we're at right now, has you covered. Switch over to Metro PCS and get a free Samsung Galaxy 5. Sales tax not included. Yeah, that's a free Samsung Galaxy if you switch over to Metro PCS. When we come back, we're going to talk the defensive side of the football, and that's been an area where the Trojans have really turned things around this season, playing great defense, and it's got them on a 9-game winning streak, and in the second round of the playoffs tonight to take on Opelika. When we come back, we'll hear more from Kenny King. Ty Reynolds joins us as well as we're here at Metro PCS on Highway 98 in Daphne. Round of the playoffs here tonight on UTV 44. We get ready. The Daphne Trojans playing host to the Opelika Bulldogs. Ty Reynolds, linebacker, with us here. Kenny King with us for another segment here on our Metro PCS pregame show. I'm Jim Cox, Dan Brennan, as always. And sometimes it's like kind of during the games or during your radio show. Sometimes some of the great conversations happen off the air. But you and Kenny were just having a great one about him coming back here.
Yeah, I think it's just awesome that, Kenny, you, of course, grew up here. And your travels eventually took you to Arizona, where you played NFL football. Let me ask you not just about coaching kids in high school, young men. You are coaching basically the same kids that you were teammates with.
Yes.
They were Daphne, Alabama young men.
Yes.
And that's a certain cut of kid. They're Trojans. So now as you come back and get a chance not to just coach and be a leader of a high school program, but you look, do you see these kids as like, wow, that reminds me so much of me in my game?
Every day. I'm always talking to them about it, and I try to step back from talking about when I was at Daphne. And, you know, it's exciting to come home, you know, give back. I tell people that I just try to invest back into my community, back into Daphne, in which I had a great coach, Coach Savarese, that really invested in me. And, you know, hopefully he could see what he molded me, and hopefully I can mold a young athlete to do some of the things that I have done, and also ultimately be a coach one day and give back to Daphne once again.
But it wasn't just Daphne, the great place that we all love here on this side of the bay. It wasn't just Daphne. It was more about the quality of high school football here as opposed to other parts of the country, wasn't it?
Yes, living in Arizona was great. Coached at Hamilton High School out in Phoenix, and it was very successful. But you always question yourself and say, you know, will we be successful if we played a team in Alabama? And, you know, everybody talk about Alabama football and Texas football and Florida football, and being out in Arizona, you know, I kind of felt wanting to come back home and kind of test the waters and see if I could coach and compete in the state of Alabama.
Well, he's passing the test right now. There's no, no doubt about that. Second round of the playoffs, Ty Reynolds, linebacker here, had a big week, had an interception, taken back for a touchdown last week in the win. Going on the road at Sidney Lanier Thursday night, opening up the playoffs. Talk about what you were feeling like getting ready for that first playoff game last week.
You know, definitely, it was a mind blower. You know, it's a different feel. Playoffs through regular season, through playoffs, it's a different feel. And coming in that game, we knew we had to be more focused and more determined to win that game. And in the end, we ended up doing that.
7-1 in the region. The only loss to Spanish Fort, through a tie atop of the region with Spanish Fort, Daphne, and Blunt. But I mean, going on the road up to Sidney Lanier, first game out of the draw in the playoffs. That's a tough place to go.
Well, first of all, let me say that's a high school football player. Right? That's what we talk about when we talk about high school football. We talk about guys that love playing the game and give everything they've got, and they may not peak at a higher level in the high school football. They may not. But you see guys that give so much energy and so much passion to the game. I've got to imagine that's what he's all about.
Yes, you know, he's a great linebacker, and he's a leader for us on defense. You know, when you're looking at somebody coming in leading and being that guy, that go-to guy, he's the definition of a great football player, and I respect him for stepping up. You know, he's coming from Arizona also. You know, his dad's defense coordinator, so you know, it was a big change for him, and he stepped up and has been doing very well with us.
Obviously, the dad's doing pretty well. Also, 11 points a game is all the Trojans are giving up. All right, let's talk about when you look at Opelika. I mean, they're scoring 38 points a game. They've been known to have great offenses over the years. What are you seeing as you get ready for the Bulldogs game?
Their offensive line definitely looks good. They're big. They're coached, and we definitely got our defensive D-line has been working all week on them, and I think there's some holes, and our defense has been thriving on turnovers. So if we get a couple of those, I think we'll be in good shape.
You know, usually when you got an out-of-town team, you can rely on some local coaches who might be able to give you a little intel. They've played them in the past years, whatever. You know, the blood's probably thicker than water. Coach Blackman probably not helping you out a lot. Going against his brother Brian Blackman this week.
No, I don't.
Not at all.
He didn't call me and let me know what they're running. You know, I wish them well. You know, I know they have a big game also, and you know, I talked to some people before. You know, to have Daphne win and have Spanish Fort win, and to play a third round against each other for the community would be great.
Huge.
Be huge. So, you know, you got a little excitement on if that happens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the TV folks wouldn't mind that either.
No.
Wouldn't mind that matchup. Wouldn't mind that, any of the local matchups to get going. We're here at Metro PCS, just continuing to talk about all the great deals they got going on here as I read it from my phone here. If you're still trying to figure out the best deal of the season as the football season continues on here, Metro PCS has you covered. Switch to the Metro PCS plan and get a free Galaxy On 5S. Sales tax not included yet. It's a free Samsung Galaxy right here at Metro PCS. Ty, good job. We're glad to have you here. Right, you liking it coming from Arizona? You okay down here? Yeah. It's not quite the dry heat you're used to.
No.
Not that. Kenny King's going to stay.
Not as long a drive to the beach.
Kenny King's going to stay here with us. We got silly questions. We look more about the matchup with Opelika tonight here on UTV 44. Metro PCS pregame show here in week 2 of the playoffs. We're at the Highway 98 location here in Daphne. Jim Cox, Dan Brennan, Kenny King. And I wanted, before we get to the silly questions, and Coach was like, is this it? This is it? He was really excited.
No, he was like ready to leave.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, we got one more of these silly questions. So we talked a little bit with Ty there and defensively and just, you know, how much better the team has been playing defensively. Talked about his dad coming in, the defensive coordinator from Arizona with you, but I know that's always going to be, you would think, a prideful part and a focus of a Kenny King coach team is the defensive side of the football.
Yeah, it's been on the defensive side of the ball, you know, attention to detail. You know, we always striving the little things and attention to detail. And like I say, they've done a great job. The defensive coordinator, Coach Reynolds, has brought his 4-2-5 defense in, and the kids bought in and learning it and doing something special with it.
You knew what high school football was about here, as we just talked about it. What was Coach Reynolds been like? What was his impression coming here, not seeing Alabama football, and hearing you years and years and years, I'm sure, of raving about how great Alabama football was? What's his impression been since coming here?
I think he's fine now, but when we was 0-2, I think he was
He didn't like it that much.
you know, what I get myself into. But since then, it's been great, and he's been happy and really enjoying the schemes and how to defend offenses.
If he only had daughters, would you brought him along, or was it looks like a package deal, man?
Yes, indeed.
And I know we talked about you wanting to come back, give back, but also family. I mean, you still got your family here. I mean, I know that was a big reason for you coming back to Daphne as well.
Yes, Daddy, Mom is still here. Daddy has a pharmacy, Daphne Pharmacy. off Highway 98.
Yep, right down the road, right down the road.
Down the road. So coming home and I have 3 youngins, and bringing them home to their grandparents was great for us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was the grandparents are probably really happy about that decision. All right, so we've got our silly questions as we go through. Usually we have both coaches here, so we'll sometimes start with Dan just so you're not feel like you're getting piled up. We did ask this one last week. We'll start. It's an easy one. What's the movie you can quote the most?
I would say 300. I was a big fan of 300.
Nice.
You know.
I have long-term memory problems. And so...
and short-term as well sometimes.
Yeah, you got it, man.
All right, pillow or blanket?
I'm a pillow.
Pillow.
I gotta have a blanket to fall asleep. Like, I gotta have a blanket on me. Hardest part about being a coach?
The biggest thing is, you know, the emotional roller coaster that you go through, the highs and lows, you know, with the kids. But that's the great part of it. So I definitely enjoy it.
All right, staying on that theme, emotional roller coaster, best way to decompress. Can you get away from it at all? Nick Saban says, you know, like there's no getting away during the season. Can you get a little time during the season to get away?
No, you can't. You can't get away. There's no way.
How about you relax? What you
Yeah,
do?
it's funny because you ask a high school football coach, how do you relax? And for me, as a broadcaster, I relax by watching football. So he's like, no, man, can't do that.
All right, so Thanksgiving just a couple of weeks away. Turkey, roasted, fried, or I'd rather eat tacos on Thanksgiving.
Fried.
Fried?
No, I like roasted.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
give me
like
the
the old
tacos.
oven.
I got no
Old
use
school.
for turkeys. All right, a spooked turkey can run up to 20 miles an hour. A spooked Dan Brennan would clock in at what, do you think?
Probably 15 miles per hour. I got you.
All right,
You got me like old, an analyst sprinter guy.
we will stay on the last one on the food theme. Mayonnaise, yes or no?
No.
Yeah.
I am, you know who I agree with? Jimmy Fallon. He says mayonnaise reminds him of pus. I am with it. I think it's just a disgusting condiment. No use for mayonnaise. I do have use for these two.
I may never have it again.
Kickoff comes up next. Kenny King and the Daphne Trojans playing host to the Opelika Bulldogs here on UTV 44. Week 2 of the postseason comes up next from Jubilee Stadium.